All right, I'd like to talk about silver bullets, world-class thinking, solutions to some of the problems that we played out here. And we know the Eurozone, China, we spoke about lack of resources being perhaps an issue as well. And then also, if we could also just talk about slightly about this failed state, this local currency as well, which is worrying Clem extensively at night. Let's talk about some of the solutions that we could put on the table. Clem.
Well, I actually don't want to bore people. I have said that, we've got to change our attitude to entrepreneurs in this country. We've obviously got to, as mentioned by other panelists, we've got to have absolutely no more cadre deployment in terms of service delivery or in terms of staffing our para-statals. We've got to get back to the right person for the job. Not, what your struggle credentials were. We've, as I said, we've got to promote small business. This country has amazing spirit about it. It has these amazing pockets of excellence. So it doesn't require very much to get the arrow pointing in the right direction. So yes, those are the two big things for me: getting the right people to do the service delivery, and education and health, obviously. And the second thing is entrepreneurship. And I'd just like to make one very controversial point. We all talk about Zimbabwe being a basket case, but one of the things that I know from knowing people up there is right now they probably have a better education system for the masses than we do in South Africa with the limited amount of money. Why? Because they hold the teachers accountable for teaching the pupils.
KUSENI.
Three things. The first one, we need smart leadership. We need visionary and bold and courageous leaders. And we need to hold our leaders accountable. We need to be assertive as citizens and make sure that we hold them to very high expectations and don't tolerate mediocrity. Because to the extent that they're mediocre and pedestrian, we are to blame. There is a saying that every nation has got the leaders that it deserves. The second thing, I think, is the issue of institutions. We need to consolidate the efficacy of our institutions. We need power to check power. We are a constitutional democracy. The judiciary has to remain independent. The media has to remain vociferous and challenging and scrutinizing. And business has to remain independent and doing what it knows best. So really safeguarding institutions. The problem in Zimbabwe, and I'll dare say Nigeria, got good education, but they fall flat on institutions because they don't have institutions that work. That's the same problem in most African countries with better education than we do. Luckily, we have got very good institutions in this country. We need to consolidate them and defend them. Lastly, human capital, human capital, human capital. I'm fascinated by Asian examples such as Singapore and Japan that don't have even 1 ounce of platinum, 1 ton of coal, 1 ounce of gold, but they're world leaders in many fields of endeavor. Thank you.
Cookie.
You guys have said it all. I mean, you need meritocracy, and that brings competition. And as soon as you have people really competing for jobs, then they're going to work harder. And I must say, and I'm sure Clem does the same, I talk regularly at universities. And what really excites me there is the young guys that's studying there, and often I do the Saturday classes, and these are part-time students. So, there's a whole young generation there that is very keen, that does want to deliver, that does work hard. So, they've got to be given opportunities. And if you can recapture the spirit of the World Cup, if you think, what we did achieve and how proud everybody was of what we achieved there, the opportunities are there. It's on our doorstep in Africa. It's in other countries, and we've got the number of people that are unemployed that do want jobs and do want training. So it can be done.
Fantastic.
Can I just raise one point? I did 2 strategy sessions, one late last year with the American Embassy, one earlier this year with the British Embassy. I asked both of them, did you foresee the Arab Spring? And they both said no. So I said, in retrospect, what were the flags you missed? And they nominated the same flags. Abnormally high youth unemployment in all the countries affected by the Arab Spring, combined with active social networks, combined with growing alienation from the state by young people. Well, we have all three in this country, and so this what we're talking about with young people is absolutely essential that we have a national debate about how we are actually going to change the situation for young people in South Africa.
The wage subsidy.
Yes, 9 billion rand.
Yep.
And the DBSA is actually earmarked to spend, to put it into practice. And what's interesting, they've only spent around 1.8 billion rand thus far. How many jobs have been created? Is it enough? Is 9 billion even enough?
This is a new Africa now, and it has, and that's established. This is not sort of a blip of the stats. This has been something happening for a decade now. This is a business story, and it's a new era for this continent. But the political leadership far too often is still old Africa. That's the major drag. We need a political leadership that is cognizant of the new opportunity and the new reality and the dangers of not making that growth inclusive. That's what you need. You need a political leadership that can spot the coming problem and spot the opportunity that is very real.